May I request everyone to settle down and switch their phones to silent mode? Please rise for the national anthem. I request the photographers to refrain from clicking pictures during the national anthem.
Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Uttara, Banga, Vindhya, Himachal, Yamuna, Ganga, Ujjala, Jaladhi, Taranga, Tava Shubha Name Jage, Tava Shubha Ashish Mange, Gahe Tava Jaya Gada, Jana Gana Mangala Dayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya 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 He.
Person Pratibha Kunda and her committee, I, Rashi Agarwal, Executive Secretary of Flow Hyderabad, extend a warm welcome to our guest speaker for the day, Ms. Kirthiga Reddy, our past chairs, members from the media, and fellow Flow members. It's truly wonderful to see such an inspiring gathering of women, each of us driven by curiosity, ambition, and the desire to learn, grow, and make a difference. Today's session is extra special as we have with us a phenomenal leader who continues to redefine what it means to lead with purpose, Ms. Kirthiga Reddy. From being the first employee of Facebook India to becoming a global technology leader, she herself says the real opportunity of technology lies not in what we can do, what it can do, but in what we can do with it. That thought beautifully captures the essence of today's conversation. A reminder that technology is not just about innovation, but about imagination, not just about progress, but about purpose. At Flow Hyderabad, we celebrate women who are shaping the world with creativity, resilience, and leadership. And today we have the privilege of learning from one such woman. Let's make today a celebration of learning, leadership, and limitless possibilities. I request Flow Chairperson Ms. Pratibha Kunda, our speaker Ms. Kirthiga Reddy, Flow Past Chairs Ms. Manjula Reddy and Ms. Rekha Reddy, Y Flow Past Chair Riddhi Jain to please step forward for lamp lighting.
Good afternoon, everyone. So when we curate a flow experience, we don't just plan a session. We try to spark a shift, a new lens through which we see our own potential. When we designed this event, we asked ourselves two simple but defining questions. What is the future demanding from women leaders? And who is someone who has already lived that future before the rest of the world even saw it? Today, the answer to that question is more important than ever. We are standing at a moment where 75% of the workforce will need new digital skills by the end of this decade. And yet, women currently hold only 18% of leadership roles in technology. The gap isn't in capability, it's in opportunity and awareness. And that question led us to one name. Today's speaker isn't here because of titles. She's here because she represents a mindset we believe every woman in this room deserves, the mindset of anticipating change. Miss Kirthiga Reddy has always been that rare force of foresight. I strongly believe that there are leaders who adapt to change, and then there are visionaries who arrive before it even begins. She built digital ecosystems before India was ready for them. And today, as India's digital economy accelerates towards a projected $1 trillion valuation by 2030, leaders like her aren't just part of the wave, they're defining its architecture. She's entered global investment rooms before they had space for women. And today, women still receive less than 2% of venture capital funding, which makes her journey not just inspiring, but catalytic. And today, she's shaping the future of AI with the same conviction she brought into every frontier she has ever stepped into. Before we begin this session, I have a quick review of everything that has happened at Flow Hyderabad since the last speaker event. Can we have the AV, please? We returned from our annual retreat to Coorg, and it proved to be a truly memorable networking experience. The retreat offered a perfect blend of learning, connection, and fun. I have a few congratulations in order now. First, congratulations to our past chair, Ms. Sona Chatwani, on winning her first ever national election and joining the National Executive Committee of IIID. And congratulations to our past chair, Ms. Usharani Mane, who was invited as a keynote speaker at the 2025 annual London Global Convention. And the Flow Women Independent Directors Masterclass with the Institute of Directors concluded successfully with 13 remarkable women of Flow Hyderabad who have cleared the program and now stepping into their journey as board-ready leaders. And congratulations to Ms. Shalu Saraf for being chosen from 142 applicants for the inaugural She Invest cohort from national, and she was one of the 6 finalists and the only one from Hyderabad representing us. So congratulations to all of them. And lastly, I'm thrilled to announce an upcoming speaker session with India's most admired and most popular financial instructor, Ms. Rachna Ranade, on 24th. So register and block your calendars as soon as we release the creative. It's very important because we're going to learn a lot about finance and how do we manage our funds and how do we do it with AI. So we manage and we understand it much better. So ladies, now with huge excitement and gratitude, please join me in welcoming someone who doesn't wait for the future. She builds it, Ms. Kirthiga Reddy. Welcome to Flow Hyderabad.
I request the chairperson to please felicitate our speaker. And I invite Executive Committee Head for Finance, Rekha Murray, to please introduce our speaker for the day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our speaker today, Kirthiga Reddy, CEO of Optimize Geo and Varex, has been at the forefront of AI, investment, and digital transformation. She was Facebook India and South Asia's first employee and managing director, SoftBank Vision Fund's first female investment partner, and has led $1 billion plus AI-driven investments. Now, at Optimize Geo, a high-growth venture-backed company, her mission is to help companies, brands, and products build trust, relevance, and business in an LLM search-led world. Having partnered with companies in the last mega consumer behavior shift to social and mobile, she is excited to do it again in today's AI-first era. She serves on the Board of Trustees, Syracuse University, and was former chair, Stanford Business School Management Board. She has been recognized as Fast Company's most creative people in business, and as Fortune India's most powerful woman among many other recognitions. And an avid runner and outdoor enthusiast, she has hiked the Mount Everest base camp twice. So we are very happy to have her here with us today, and thank you for coming here, Ms. Kirthiga. Thank you, everyone.
All right, no, it's exciting to be here. And by the way, I'm looking at these gifts and I'm always thinking, I come to places like Hyderabad with a carry-on, and I always leave with one extra bag, and that seems to be true of this event as well. No, but very, very excited to be here. Thank you all for being here today.
We're excited to have you. Our chairperson is having a few throat issues, so I would like to invite Mrinalini Shastri to lead the fireside chat with you today. She's head of our editorial team.
I'm excited for the conversation. And it was also truly beautiful to see all of the volunteer leaders. So how about we hear it one more time for all of the volunteer leaders who came up on stage, and to this incredible volunteer leader right up on the stage with me.
Good afternoon, Kirthiga. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again to Flow Hyderabad. And it's such an honor to have this conversation with you.
Excited to be here. I was coming here and Dana picked me up and I was reminiscing. I remember when In Orbit opened. I remember the 1-year anniversary of In Orbit with my 2 girls. And it's really such a joy to be here in this audience with family. I see Manjula, Sunita, Namrata, and so many entrepreneurs, people with so much ambition, vision, and I see some next generation too, which is always exciting. So let's get it.
Incredible, yeah. So for a lot of us in the room, I think the first chapter of your story starts with your role at Facebook. But we wanted to go into the chapters before that. So if you could share a little bit about your journey that brought you to Facebook to create the incredible impact that you did.
Sure. And so by the way, the first chapter of Facebook was right here in Hyderabad. I hope people know that. Facebook's first office, yes, was right here in Hyderabad. We see nods. So the chapters before that, maybe I'll talk about 3 chapters. 1 is on childhood, 2 is on education, and 3 is early career. That led me to Facebook. On the childhood side, actually, Samantana asked me, where are you from? I said, it's such a difficult question to answer. I think I'm originally from Andhra at some point of time. Parents grew up in Tamil Nadu. I mostly grew up in Maharashtra. My parents moved every 3 to 4 years, not in the army, not in the navy, was with the same company for 30 years. My mother thinks my father had a travel bug. My husband, Dave, thinks I've inherited the travel bug. And so what that taught me, though, was a lot of adaptability, a lot of agility. And it taught me that life is about making the most of the cards played to you. And that sentiment and that lesson was very apparent in the education phase of things. Because when I wanted to go do my graduate degree, and by the way, I went into STEM mostly because of societal norms. You know, if you're doing well, then you either become, I mean, I was told I had many choices. You can either become a doctor, an engineer, or they told me I would be a total failure, right? So there was many choices. That's what I was told. So, I applied both for my medical and my engineering. I got into engineering, but because I moved so much, I didn't have domicile. And so I had to go to the local private school. And my parents couldn't afford to send me anywhere else, and they also has this sense of, there's a girl child, so she has to go into the college right next door. So we were in Nanded at that time. How many people know where Nanded is? Okay, actually, yeah, fair bit, yeah. So I started I joined my undergraduate education there, and to give you a perspective, for the first year, we didn't even have a campus. We had borrowed the high school, neighborhood high school, and that's where we went to for my first year of college. And I was crying. I said, oh my God, why can't I go to and apply to higher ranked schools? And my father said, listen, you can go to an incredible institution and do nothing with that opportunity, or you can make the most of the opportunity right in front of you. And fast forward, I actually stood second in the university, which included these other universities that I couldn't apply to, other colleges I couldn't apply to. And it was that soaking of that message that it's about making the most of the cards played to you. And I truly believe that it was because I was in this small place and I got so much personalized attention. I remember we used to have chai in our HOD's office as we prepared for exams. And it was that led me to that excellence. And that was the first time that I felt, oh my God, this is what I can aspire to be. So life is about making the most of the cards played to you, make your cards right. And then to fast forward, went to the United States to do my master's, then my MBA at Stanford, started working for a startup. And it was with that startup that I actually first came to India. Many people think I first came to India first for Facebook, but I came to India with Motorola, with my 2 girls who were then 3 and 5, wonderfully supportive husband Dave. And I loved being back in India, saw the start of the internet, talking about seeing the future. Said, want to continue to stay on. So got an introduction to Sheryl Sandberg through a business school classmate, said, love Facebook, love to play a role building Facebook in India. It was almost a year later that they announced the intention to open an office in India, and I was humbled to have the role.
What an incredible journey, won't you agree? I think just that itself has so many learnings for all of us. But what you said got me thinking, when you go to a college with not even a campus, right? And then you graduate, and I'm sure you're one of their most illustrious alumni today. Maybe your Ken for 0 to 1 started a lot earlier than we think that it did,
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And it's in those, the ability to pick up and restart, all right? The ability to be able to take risks and to know that you'll be okay. And I'll also tell you, after I graduated from Stanford Business School, one imagines that one graduates from one of the best business schools in the world, one gets a title raise, one gets a, salary raise. But I chose to go, I was one of the youngest director of engineering at Silicon Graphics before business school, and Silicon Graphics was the OpenAI of its time. Everybody wanted to work there. But I chose to go to a startup, which meant that I took a 40% pay cut, and I went from being a director of engineering to an individual contributor, because startups are small, scrappy growing, and they pay more in equity versus your salary. I had agonizing nights. I said, is this going to look bad on my resume? People will say, oh, she was the director of engineering, she went to Stanford, and now she's taking this, this product management role. And it's always great to have community who can give you wise counsel. So one of the executive search firms, I knew someone there, and she told me, Kirthiga, if this is a short-term move, then don't do it, okay? But if this is a long-term move, this is an industry that you want to go in, a function that you want to learn, whatever you have done in the past will help you grow very quickly, and in the long term, it won't matter. And so sure enough, I rose very quickly again to become the director of product management. So if you looked at my LinkedIn today, what your eyes will go to is, she was the director of engineering, director of product management, general manager of Facebook in India. It is so linear. What you will not see is right there on my LinkedIn, you will also see individual product manager, group product manager, director of product. So careers are no longer, it's not a career ladder. It truly, think of it like a jungle gym, where you go learn different skills. And as long as you're generally moving in the right, upward direction, truly, forget all what, as they say, stop shoulding yourself. This is what I should do, and but really think about what you want to do and what pulls your heart, and that will get you further along than anything about what you should be doing.
Completely agree. And I think what you said about play for the long term, that's really an incredible lesson, because we tend to look at things, as you said, linearly, but think of the long term, and it's never linear. It's a circle, I think. It begins somewhere, comes back somewhere else. But moving on, you came to Facebook back when India was just sort of warming up to social media. I don't think the term even existed. We use it so prolifically today, I don't think we used to do it back then. What did you see back then that so many of us didn't? What made you bet on Facebook?
By the way, my closing calls when we used to hire that time at Facebook India used to be with parents, okay? Because the parents would come tell me, they're like, is Facebook even a company? Isn't it just like some site that the kids go and hang out? Is this even a job? And when we were interviewing, by the way, we didn't even have an office, so we used to interview. Westin had just come up then. So we were interviewing in the business center. So even more so, the parents were, there isn't even an office. They're interviewing in this business center in Westin. And I remember meeting parents at the reception. They would wait until the interview finishes, and then the child would go with them. So that was where we were at that point of time. So what drew me to Facebook? It was actually, if I rewind back, a time where I did not see the opportunity and the determination that would not happen again. For my internship, for my MBA at Stanford, I interviewed at Google, and I walked out thinking, this was pre-IPO, and I walked out thinking, how big can a search engine really be, okay? Famous last words and famous last thoughts, and I knew I would not let, you make a mistake once, but you need to learn from it, and you don't make the mistake twice. And I could see all of the same indicators with Facebook. I could see the network effect. I had moved to India, as I had mentioned, and it was my primary way to reconnect with people I had lost touch with, and also to stay connected with people back in the United States. So I could see what was happening. So that was one. And two, the people, I interviewed with Cheryl. The first set of people that I met with was Harvey, was Mark, just Chris Cox, just incredible set of people. The clincher also was for me, it was a brutal interview process, by the way. I met with 14 people, from the legal head, the HR head, the finance head, everybody. The last person I met with was Debbie Frost, who had communications for us. And she asked me this question. She said, Kirthiga, how will you think about using the platform for good in the country? And at that time, Facebook had just released their integration with the Amber Alert system in Canada, where if a child went missing, you actually would be alerted on Facebook. And research had shown that just that early indication actually helps with finding the child almost 8 times faster than otherwise. So at that moment, it was like no longer a job for me. It was it was an opportunity where both my career ambitions and my ambition for impact and community all came together. And truly, I was just absolutely humbled to have the opportunity to be
You
the
found
first
your
employee.
ikigai,
I
didn't
did,
you? Right there.
actually.
And it, suddenly comes upon you, no?
Totally. You know what many people don't know was when I had the Facebook offer, the other offer that I had was the offer to head the India operations for the other internet giant in the country. It was just coincidental that both of these companies were looking for a head of India at the same time. And I knew I wouldn't go wrong in either case. In one case, it was the opportunity to go lead a 1,000-people organization, which is, right across the street, very close to us. But in the other, it was the opportunity to be the first employee for Facebook in India. And by the way, at that time, it was not clear how things would play out. Orkut was a dominant social media network. I don't know, does anyone remember Orkut? Yeah,
We've all been on Orkut.
Yeah. So it wasn't at all clear how it would play out, but I'm so grateful that I made the bet that I did and look back to tell the story.
Incredible. So play for the long term, take the risks as they come along, and don't look at it linearly. This is just so much. And when you did make this move and decided to be with Facebook, how do you just do this? How do you build for 1 billion people? How do you take an idea as bold as what Facebook was wanting to do and make that a reality for everybody? Not just in terms of the technology, but also, people, the culture. How do you bring all that together and make it possible?
Totally, right? So my role, I was at Hyderabad, we built global operations. So this was the operations that worked with users, developers, advertisers all across the globe. And then my role was also on the advertising side, so took the country to the first 400 million in revenue, now several billions. So what does it take to build for these different cultures and personalities? So one, it does require deep local expertise. And I'll give you some examples, okay? So the site, it was, nudity is not permitted, hate speech is not permitted, okay? But nudity actually has different meaning in different countries. Like what is accepted in Japan is different in the US, is different in UK. And one time, our algorithms flagged someone who had a picture of her breastfeeding a baby. They flagged it as nudity and they took it down. And we had breastfeeding organizations camped out across Facebook offices all across the globe saying, how can you be anti-breastfeeding, right? So those are the cultural nuances that you have to take into account. Or the fact that, cows might be religious here and, some pictures might not be okay to be seen here. So it takes a lot of that deep local insight that you feed it into the system. We, of course, use a lot of data, and the co-creation is a key concept. You have all of the reporting buttons that say what is appropriate, what is not, what are people Xing out, what are people staying on. User translation, we actually had people across the world translate Facebook for us because we could not do it as rapidly as the usage was keeping up. So co-creation was a big concept. And I'd say if there's one last thing, it was the adage of, in God we trust, for all else we use data. So really using data as a way to understand what was going on and fuel growth.
That's incredible. And this is not on my list, but as you're speaking, what comes to me is Facebook and a lot of social media companies are built as much by the users, by the consumers, as they are by the technologists or the entrepreneurs, right? Earlier, you would have, say, a piece of technology that is sold and then you use it. You don't participate in its growth. But the booming of social media is literally as much credit to the users as it is to the companies. So how did you make that happen? It's incredible.
Well, I think one, huge kudos to Mark for just tapping into that vision of the need for people to be connected. I remember early days of Facebook India, we used to ask people, are you on the internet? They would say no. Are you on Facebook? They would say yes, right? Because that was what it was synonymous was. People don't care about the technology, and I tell this story a lot to my teams now. It's people don't care about technology. It's like people don't care about AI. It's what you can do with AI. Back to the introduction, it's not about the technology itself, it's about what you can do with the technology. I also remember once in one of these events, the founder of the Mast Kalandar fast food chain, she came up to me and she said, Kirthiga, I have to tell you something. I have a Facebook story to share. And it's great where no matter where you go, people have a Facebook story, an Instagram story, a WhatsApp story. And she said, my cooks, they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, but they know how to use the phone and they know how to use Facebook. And for a minute, I was taken aback. I said, they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write. What are they doing on Facebook? And she showed me their profile pictures and profile pages. And sure enough, there were pictures being shared, like emojis, interaction with media and content, and talking about, how people make it what it is. It was that moment where, as you think about, we used to wake up every day and think about the mission of the company to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. And this was taking it one step forward, where they were using Facebook to transcend literacy barriers and to form community across the globe. It was just like, those were those stories that I remember my journey by.
It's wonderful. I think all of us have a story about sending Instagram food reels to household help and having fantastic food on our table. I definitely have it. And voice notes on WhatsApp. So I work with weavers, and same thing, illiteracy, all of that is there, but you get voice notes. And they conduct their business through that. Isn't that just so wonderful, right? What you can do with it.
And there was many examples where things originated here in India and went across the globe. I remember the first sale that I made on the advertising side was actually to a telecom player, where they wanted to use Facebook for data top-ups. If you're running out of your data, then to top it up. Nobody in the United States even knew what data top-up was, And so there were like use cases that started here and went to emerging markets. Facebook Live, this was again done by the user growth team, where they had a low bandwidth consumption product, all the way to even, I remember actually sitting down with celebrities like, Amitabh Bachchan, and saying, hey, you need early days, you should be on Facebook. And he would say, but why? There are like 600 million people on television, and like you, Facebook, have 8. And so we had to tell him, but in television, you don't know who they are, but here you actually know who they are. And I was so thrilled then to give him the first social media celebrity of the year.
Wow.
So if you look it up, Amitabh Bachchan Kirthiga Reddy Social Media Award, you'll find it. And it was just incredible to see people across age groups lean in and really make the platform what it is.
So powerful. To change tack a little bit, you've held leadership roles across very varied industries, right? I mean, there's social media, there's venture capital, there's now frontier technology, if you will. What's the one thing that stayed constant with you across these roles? I'm sure you've adapted a lot, but what's that North Star? What stayed constant with you throughout?
Such a great question. Maybe I'll maybe talk about two things. Okay, one is something that actually Sheryl Sandberg told me when I started with Facebook in India. I said, I really want to make a big impact. What's your advice for me? And she said, Kirthiga, you haven't grown up in the operations world, right? I came from the product world, and here I was going to lead operations for company that had like less than 500 million users then, but quickly going to 500 billion and more. And she said, make sure you understand the nitty-gritty of the role, because that is what will give you the power to operate at a 20,000-foot level. And that was an adage that I really took to heart, and I really made sure that I understood. Like, I used to do shadow sessions with a team. I used to be able to do all of the queues, the user queues, the hacking queues, very slowly compared to the team who did this day in and day out, but I used to be able to do it because that is what gave me the power. So fast forward, when I went to SoftBank Vision Fund, same thing. I used to be selling ads, and here at Vision Fund, AI changing everything was the thesis. And the first few sectors I had to look at was quantum computing, additive manufacturing, and then I said that I have a thesis around health-enabled mental wellness, and so I wanted to look at that area. Very, very different spaces. So different industries, different culture. I had to look at term sheets. I met someone who was doing investment banking. Like, what is pari passu? What is senior lit prep? It was a completely new language. But again, then I took the time to really, I was at, my steepest point of my learning then. And fast forward now in this world of AI and being a founder in AI, I feel again I'm at the steepest curve. So to be like several decades in and still feel that I'm at the steepest curve, I love it. And I hope when we have this conversation 10 years, 20 years from now, I'll still tell you that my best is yet to come and I'm at my steepest learning curve.
Wonderful. And in addition to that, she still did Everest Base Camp twice, huh? Because these steep curves weren't clearly enough.
Well, my daughter this time told me, so Mom, what do you think about doing it a third time?
Great. So, I mean, a lot of people in the room would agree, and I'm sure you would as well, that our challenges teach us much more than our successes ever do. So I know you talked a little bit about letting go of the Google offer, but was there one setback that actually translated into a big learning for you? Maybe at Facebook, maybe at SoftBank, I don't know, whatever from your career.
Yeah, no, I have so many areas. And since I see, again, people of different, each group, different stages of careers, maybe I'll go to one that was earlier on, where I remember, I had this performance review that I did not agree with. Like, how many of you have been in situations, any time where you felt that you didn't agree with, like, how your performance, yeah, okay. So I was, and this was actually, a big lesson that will stay with me, where I was walking with him, he gave me this performance review, and I said, but why? Why did I get this rating? And he said, there was that meeting that we didn't feel that you, led the meeting very well. I was like, Rick, you remember the night before that? One, I was actually pregnant with my second child. I was counting contractions. Okay, you called me in the middle of the night and said, finish this submission for me. I said, I stayed up till 2, finishing this other submission, and then I had 30 minutes to prepare for this. What did you expect? Then he looked at me and he said, Kirthiga, listen, I need you to understand that it is about quality, not quantity. I have no idea that these are the things that you're working on. I'm not a mind reader. I need you to tell me if you're going to have something that is subpar, you have to actively manage that communication. Because otherwise, I'm going to take that sense that you did not deliver up to that quality versus you had these 5 things going on. So don't expect managers and leaders to be mind readers. And by the way, I would say that of all your personal relationships as well. Do not expect your spouse, your partner, all of that to be mind readers. Just communicate, right? Just communicate, right? And so it was a big lesson that stays with me even today. It's about quality, not quantity. If at any time, by the way, I'm not saying everything has to be done with perfection, but if you are going to come short of perfection, have that explicit conversation with whichever constituent it is that says, hey, I don't think this is important, or this is only so much time, so I'm only going to be able to do this. The power of one is very important. People take judgments based on one interaction. And if that interaction is subpar, they're going to extrapolate that to everything else that we do. So manage where you are landing and how you're landing and communicate.
And it doesn't help that you've already set a very high bar, no?
Yeah, but maybe the other learning is that the performance review that you cry the most will be one that 20 years later you'll talk about the most and say you had the biggest. So if you get into a review where you're crying the most, just twist around and say, 20 years from now, I'll say I learned the most from this, so it's all okay.
It's a chapter in my biography. Yeah. Right, now on to the topic that's top of mind for all of us, technology and AI and what it holds for the future and for all of us. I'll start with something really simple. I think a lot of us struggle with understanding and articulating what actually the potential of AI is. We know it's there, but we don't fully comprehend it, or certainly we can't say it. So my notes here say that I should request you to explain the potential of AI as you would to a 10-year-old. But I'm sure we all agree that 10-year-olds today know what the potential of AI is, probably better than us. But how would you explain it to a child, maybe someone who's never seen it before, who's never interacted with it? How do you explain the potential of this abstract concept which is still very real around you?
It's a beautiful question. And what I would say both to a child and to all of us in this audience, it's that the potential of AI is to really harness your individual potential. Okay? So really, just want to say that again. The power of AI is about the ability to harness your individual potential, your vision, your goals. How is it that that can amplify what you want to do, right? So if you are, I don't know, like solving a big health problem, how can you use AI to solve that better? If you are solving, environment problem, how can you do that? I'll give you another example in a very practical manner, right? I now have a custom GPT that is like trained on my voice. So, it just helps for me to get a first pass at responses, at drafts. Of course, okay, don't make the mistake of just relying on AI. I mean, sometimes I've seen things that are just like cut and paste, and AI does hallucinate. And so 100% use AI, you get penalty points if you don't use AI for everything that you're doing. But if you don't double check it, then you get even more penalty points, and it's even worse than using AI. So use AI, but double check it. But those are the ways, in just practical manners, that I have used AI. So think about whatever it is that you want to do, and think about, like, if you're an author, if you have a hotel, if you're running real estate, if you are a lawyer, if you are a teacher, no matter what segment you are, just like how you use the internet to make whatever you're doing get to the next level, AI is absolutely the same thing.
So the potential of AI is directly proportional to the potential of the human beings that are actually going to use the AI.
Yes.
Because my next question was going to be, how do you see a world in which the incredible power of AI can coexist with what we at least like to think is inimitable, right? The human intuition. How do they coexist without sort of competing? I mean, there's all of this fear that a lot of us operate out of. How do you address that?
No, so it's about complementing, right? If it's a radiologist, how is it that they can get like a certain set of information that they can look at, and maybe even get a more comprehensive analysis than they could have been able to do it humanly, right? I'll give you another example. So we are out of stealth mode with our latest platform. It's called Optimize Geo. And in this country, I have to say that Geo is not GIO. It is GEO. It is Generative Engine Optimization. So basically, there's a mega consumer shift happening where people are no longer going to Google to do beauty, skincare, law, enterprise, hotel, what have you. They're going to ChatGPT for travel advice and the like, right? So how is it that people used to think about search engine optimization? How do you appear first, second in search results? Now there's the same phenomena of how do you appear first, second in AI search results. So that's the platform that I have, and happy to, like, we need all of you, whoever has businesses, products, companies, please use us, please give us feedback, please give us design partners, and it's going to be instrumental to our growth. But back to the complementing, right? So we do a lot of analysis. We tell you about, hey, this is what users are looking at in this category. This is the sources that LLM is using. But it still requires human intuition. I might tell a brand like L'Oreal that says the consumer is looking for value-conscious beauty, future-forward skincare, XYZ, sustainability. But then it's the brand manager of L'Oreal who says, okay, I know the user is looking for all of this, but I don't need to be associated with value-conscious beauty. Just as an example, may or may not, right? It is the human side that comes, that knows what your goals are, what you want to achieve, that you then use that data and use it to optimize. And there are endless examples like that, but I'm just so bullish about the potential of AI to really accelerate human potential.
As long as we view it as an ally that can actively, help us achieve our goals, I think we can really do much more with AI from optimism than fear, no?
So there are two sides of it. One, I'm a big proponent of technology for good, so I'd even challenge this group to say, how can AI actually be really used to accelerate the good? One of the companies I invested in when I was with SoftBank was a company called Eightfold.ai. It's a talent intelligence platform, so I led their last $200 million, $2 billion investment. So what they do is they take the resume of a person, they have an AI augmentation based on a bunch of different data points, and then they will match it. So let's say Starbucks is their client. The person applying, it'll tell you that these are the 5 roles in Starbucks that are applicable to you based on your resume, okay? They were finding that they were able to deliver almost a 50% increase in diverse candidates and hires. Why? Okay? Because there's this research that says that, when men look at a role, they see that even if it's a 60% match, they think that they're the next best thing to slice bread for the role, okay? But when a woman looks at a role, what is the percentage match that they need to see for them to see that there is a good match? What's your guess? 90 to 100, right? So it is research, right? So women were self-selecting them out of roles, but because of this technology, right, it was showing roles to them where women were saying, and diverse candidates were saying, really? You think I am a good match for this role? I would have never thought about applying for this role, right? So it's a beautiful example of how AI and technology is actually used to counter biases that exist in human nature. And so I'd love for all of us to be thinking more about that, is how can we actually use AI to counter biases and to use technology for good?
Yeah, I work in financial inclusion, for example, and we're using AI to look at alternate underwriting methods for people who don't have traditional credit scores. So yeah, the potential is immense if you're able to bring together human intuition with power of AI. My next question, of course, on the list was going to be, how do you, in an industry which is obsessed with disruption, how do you ground that in purpose? Not the tech for the tech itself. I mean, obviously you believe in it very strongly, but how does that translate when you're building companies, when you're making things happen? Grounding the tech itself in purpose.
Yeah. Again, a beautiful question. And, I'd love to also hear audience questions, so we should probably open up in between for audience questions and then come back as well at the end.
In the end, yeah.
All right. So get your questions ready. I can't wait to hear what's on your mind. So how do you ground yourself in purpose? I'm reminded of, my executive coach. She, when I had one of my milestone birthdays, she said, so I was turning 50, and she said, think about, I have this practice, by the way, and it's one practice I'd love to leave with all of you. It's a practice of, every year, and what we are in November now, so even you can do this even now, where you say, you imagine that it is December 31st, okay? And you write down what it is that you want to look back on the year. What's your big, bold vision for the year, okay? It could be personal, professional, it could be one line, it could be paragraphs. And it's a practice that I've done for, the last 10 years, I would say, is at the beginning of the year, look back and write down. And research says that just the act of writing it down, as though it has already happened, it increases the probability of that by almost 47%. So if that just simple practice increases the probability of something happening by 47%, of course, just do it, right? And if you actually share it, it increases the probability even more. So back to your purpose question. So my executive coach said, let's project out the next 50 years, because longevity is increasing. We'll all live to be 80, 90, 100 and beyond, unless something untoward happens. Project out the next 50 years. So I did a PowerPoint presentation. I had a vision board, and I talked about my professional goals. But it started out with a picture of an old couple, and then there was there's a picture of cutout of this big family. We have a chocolate lab, and so I have a chocolate lab in that as well. And then it went on to all my professional goals. I was sharing this with my daughter. And, so the first few pictures were that of a happy family and then the professional goals. And she told me, she said, Mom, the first few slides are all just so motherhood and apple pie. I mean, it's like everybody would put that in. And I told her, I said, Ashna, I think all the professional side will all happen. The thing that I'm going to have to work the hardest on is actually the first 2 or 3 slides, right? And I think I think it's important perspective for all of us to have. We are all in this room. We are already the 0.0001%. Okay, and we are all sitting here with privilege, and everything beyond that is aspirational. So just cherish what you have, and at the end of the day, to have people whom you can love, who love you, have a community to be alongside you is probably the most precious thing you can achieve in life. So I think that keeps me grounded very much. And then it's about how is it that you can use technology and whatever else for good.
So whenever that gets chaotic, this grounds you and this makes you put things in perspective to make the right decisions.
It does. And maybe the one other story that I'll tell you is when people ask me like what drives you and what gives you purpose, I remember my mother, where she didn't have the opportunity to finish her high school education because her parents told her, you only need enough math to do the grocery bill. Because after all, why would a girl child need anything more than to do the grocery bill, right? Her brother, by the way, finished a postgraduate degree, so it wasn't that they didn't know the value of education. Then to fast forward and see the pride that she has when she sees like her daughter on the cover of a Fortune magazine, or she actually joined us over Zoom at the New York Stock Exchange for one of my IPO bell ringings. I can still remember that moment where my mother, who didn't have the opportunity to finish her high school education at the epitome of capitalism, the New York Stock Exchange, with her daughter and her granddaughters who were also there on the podium. And it was a striking realization of how much difference one generation can make. And then also the responsibility that each one of us have to make it that much better for the next generation.
Wonderful. Moving a little bit to the venture capital side of your work. You've seen, as the first female partner at SoftBank, unicorns much before they became unicorns, right? What's that one quality or one set of qualities that makes you trust in a founder? Saying, this will happen or this will not happen. What's the thing that drives you to make that decision?
We often so there are different stages that you invest. At the seed stage, it's all about the founder. At every stage, it's about the founder, but there are different things that you look at. In the seed stage, you're literally betting on the founder. You have no other data to bet on, right? So what you look for at that time in a founder is, one, do they have this big, bold vision, right? It's back. It all starts with the big, bold vision, and by the way, if your vision doesn't scare you, you're not living up to your potential, so push yourself until your vision scares you. So do you have that big, bold vision? And do they have we call that founder superpower? Do they have an insight? What is it about them and their background, their careers, their aspirations that makes them so obsessed about solving this problem? Because entrepreneurship, I'll tell you, no one in their right mind, logically, entrepreneurship is not a logical choice, Entrepreneurship comes from the heart, mind, soul, and spirit, and that is what you need to see, because there are the ups and downs, and if you don't have that obsession about what you want to accomplish, and that persistence, and that impatience, and that unique insight, it ain't happening. So that's what we look for. And then, of course, there's the usual of, is the market big enough? Are they using differentiated technology to solve the problem?
But the bold vision and the why, really, the why of why you're solving this problem, right, is so important. So many entrepreneurs in the room, I'm sure we'll take back a lot from that. If you could go back and invest early in a company that maybe you missed, what company would that be and why? Or I hope you're allowed to say names.
I actually just remember a lot of companies that, one, I had the fortune of investing in, which is phenomenal. And, we have companies like IonQ, which was my first quantum computing investment at SoftBank. Invested in it before it was like less than 2 billion. Now it's trading at 20 billion in a few years, so that's a 10x return. So very strong returns there. But there were companies that I made an offer, but we couldn't get to their valuation threshold. For all of what's written about SoftBank, there are certainly different teams that were very valuation sensitive. Spring Health is one mental wellness company that again is doing tremendously. She's one of the youngest, unicorn founders, and so those were companies that I did make an offer to, and that one really hurts, but I feel they're still my honorary portfolio companies, and I rejoice in all of their wins.
So rejoicing in everyone's success, not just where you invested. And that's a gift that keeps on giving, right? If you take joy in the success of others.
Yeah, I consider my company to be a honorary portfolio company of all of yours and all of the investors, and similarly on the other way, other side as well.
Just that energy, I think, is solid investment for all of us. Right. I think what you see in this room is really a microcosm of India, and it's a room full of women brimming with entrepreneurial ideas. So I just want to pick your brains on what do you think will define the next billion-dollar idea from India? What's going to be the defining feature of that?
It's going to come down to the same things that I mentioned about what we look for in entrepreneurs. One, is there a big, bold vision? Okay. Is there a founder behind it who has this obsession about solving it? And are they really leaning it into next generation technology to solve it? Okay. I'll give you a few examples. One of my recent investments is in Naya Sagi, formerly the founder of Good Clam Group. She's now out of stealth mode with her startup. It's called The Edit. And she is about redefining electronic appliances in the country. So whether it's your hair dryer, or I think she has a kettle and a few things, I don't know what all is in her latest product line. She's obsessed about newer designs, contemporary designs, using AI. When she described it to me, she said, why does a hair dryer only have 3 modes? Why can't it sense like the dampness of the hair, the style of the hair, whether it's the morning, evening, and then, So she's obsessed about solving that, So, and it's a big market. So that's just one example. And again, the other one is actually Arpana with Gabbit, if the new Gabbit ring, I don't know if anyone has sleep rings. So she's another one who's obsessed about solving the problem. So whether it's areas like that are more mainstream, but I've also been just so delighted. I was the jury for Google's Agentic AI contest where they had, I think tens of thousands of applicants. I did the same thing. I was a jury for Meta as well. So the applications in agriculture and health tech and education and how they're using AI to transform each of these areas in ways and solving problems that are very unique to India is mind-blowing, and I'm very excited.
Superb. So bold vision and unique to India, and a very strong obsession with solving the problem in a way that is special to us. Totally. Again, amazing learning to take
but
back.
not just unique to India. For example, for Naya, I think she's solving a global problem. Yes, she'll target the Indian consumer first, but I'm a very strong believer in from India for the globe as much as I'm a believer in from India for India.
From India for the globe. Whoever's writing the headlines on this. We'd love to now, you mentioned a bold vision, and what could be bolder than what you're doing with AI, Kiran? So we'd love to know more about what your vision for it is, how are you bringing people together around it? To start with.
How many have heard of AI, Kiran? Anyone? Have you? Okay, I'm just trying to get a few of you, okay? All right, so AI, Kiran, is a national movement to enable 1 million women in AI, okay? It was started by my company, but it is really a movement that, a very strong backing by the government of India. You know that if you really have to drive things and scale, you have to have the government backing you. You have to have industry organizations backing you. You have to have the private sector backing you. So the goal is 1 million women in AI, right? The opportunity of AI is too large for us to once again be at the back seat, okay? We are having this conversation today where the gender equity gap, according to World Economic Forum, is 130 years, okay, 130 years. All longevity improvements aside, I do see some young kids here, but I still think that's probably beyond our lifetimes, like in normal course, all longevity improvements aside. So while that people not see, what we can do in our lifetimes is to do everything to make sure that we don't repeat the same thing with the AI equity gap. And in fact, with the use of AI, to the example that I gave you before with 84.ai, can we reduce that 130 to 60 and actually make it happen in our lifetime? So the goal is 1 million women in AI. It's the only initiative of its kind that is multidisciplinary. It's not just women in technology, it is women in arts, in entertainment, in design, in creativity, in sports. So we're talking to PV Sindhu to champion that. Yash Dongre, the house of Anita Dongre, is championing AI in fashion. Akash from Akash Education is championing AI in education. So how can it be multidisciplinary? It also touches like high school students, university learners, industry, academia, and a category that we're super proud of. It's called AI contributors. These are women who are doing data gathering, data labeling, prompt engineering. They're the unsung heroes of AI and driving the AI revolution across the globe. How do we bring them together? And how do we, one, recognize them? So each of them gets a blockchain certificate that our company provides the technology for, that says you're a woman in AI, shaping AI for India and across the globe. And the pride that they take in showing that, and it's verifiable, immutable across the globe. So it's about recognizing them because you can't be what you can't see. By the way, before AI Kiran, if you went to ChatGPT and said, tell me about 100 women in AI in India, it would tell you 10 women, and it'll say, I can't tell you. I just can't tell you. You go figure it out yourself, is what it would tell you. Now the AI Kiran community is a 10,000 people strong community, so we have already added 2 zeros to that number. And so we just have to add 2 more zeros to that number to get to that million. And it's going to do, yes, that deserves, just the work that the AI Kiran community does deserve a round of applause. And these are women who are literally saving lives with their work on like tuberculosis care to education to AgTech and changing law. It's just phenomenal to see the women there. So it's a very holistic initiative. It's a deep initiative that goes across recognition, education, growing them, fellowships, policy, and how is it that we can have them represented on global stage like World Economic Forum, South by Southwest. And it's about the Indian diaspora across the globe as well and how we connect them. So it's very global in nature. It's really going to require everyone's participation in whatever format, whether it's talent, whether it's treasure, whether it's time, to make happen. And we'd love for, in however you relate to it, own a piece of that and to make that, because this is too important of a mission to not make happen.
So as Flow members, again, this is not on the list, but as you're speaking, as Flow members, as entrepreneurs, as educators, I mean, how do we participate? How do we become part of the movement?
No, beautiful. So we are already having a discussion with chairperson. And so we are driving initiatives around that, both starting with how can we do things at a grassroots level in school and Hyderabad together to bring AI education to. We would love to have participation at all levels around, do you want to be part of the policy task force, the education task force? Do you want to sponsor a fellow? And so I would love to maybe even follow up in a more formal, structured way for the members to engage.
Wonderful. How much time do we have? I just want to... Only 5 minutes? 10, all right.
All right.
I'm afraid it's too short to ask all the questions in my mind or on my list, to be honest. But what you've said about AI Kiran, right? It's, as you yourself said it, I thought I'd be very clever and say, this is a national movement, but you already said it. I just want to ask, this is quite different from what you've done before. It sort of transcends products, it transcends organizations, and it brings together such varied stakeholders. So as, in the leadership of this, what are you doing differently than what you've done before?
So, sometimes you look at something and you feel that this is the moment that all of the previous dots was meant for. And truly, both by for-profit side on the optimized geo side, as well as what we're doing with AI Kiran, to me, it's that beautiful connection of dots. Whenever I do something, I look at whether 3 things are true. 1, is it a big mission that I really believe in, that, I will put my time, energy, and everything behind? 2, is it about working with people who I feel that I can learn from every single day? And 3, do I feel that I uniquely have something, a superpower that only I can do and nobody else can do this different, that's better. Even when I applied for Facebook, although there were many gaps that I had that, I had never built operations before, I still believe that there were a set of things that made me the best candidate for that. So as I look at AI Kiran, all modesty aside, I just feel I'm just uniquely positioned to drive this movement with the country and to bridge the gap between the US and India. And having played a big part in the country going social and mobile, this is my opportunity to really give back and make sure that I'm doing the same in the AI revolution, right? So that's where that passion comes from. And what am I doing differently? Actually, I wouldn't even say I'm doing differently. It's really about, as I said, bringing the best of, right? Then my ability to work with the government, the credibility that I have when I say, let's do this together, my ability to bring organizations in the United States together with the organizations in India and let the magic flow. So that I would say is what I'm doing differently. I'm leveraging all of the different things that I've done in the past.
So it's a collective of every single thing that you've done so far rather than just one thing that you're doing
Absolutely.
today.
As Steve Jobs says, dots connect in the hindsight, and this is an example of dots connecting.
Absolutely wonderful to hear. And just continuing on that thought, so where do you see, what role do you see India playing in the sort of global AI landscape? And of course, how does AI Kiran fit into that? I can already see how it fits in, but what's your vision for the role India would play in taking this AI landscape where it should go?
Listen, India is such an important market. India was a very important market in the move to social and mobile. India is an even more important market when it comes to AI. And I'm just so jazzed by what the government is doing. So AI Kiran, by the way, is an inclusive AI partner to the India Summit, AI Summit 2026 as well. So we're doing a bunch of events in San Francisco to further the conversation and the dialogue. But each one of us have a really important role to play in that. The internet democratized things and provided that access for people in India to sell globally much easier, faster, better. AI is going to be able to do that to even the next level. And how is it? I mean, I'm hearing of, we've already looking at like accounting and legal and all kinds of things happening from India. And India is very strongly positioned to be the AI workforce for the globe, as well as to be the AI product, services, all of that. And it's our opportunity really to gain or lose.
So we have consumers of AI because, of course, we are 1 billion people, and we have people who are working on AI, entrepreneurs or people who are building ecosystems, and we have grassroots issues being addressed, solving social and environmental issues using AI. So it's almost a complete ecosystem in itself.
Absolutely. And I would really encourage all of us are users of AI. That goes without saying. Even if you don't think you're a user of AI, you're already using AI, right? No matter, it's this invisible thread that goes across everything. I would really urge all of us to think about how we can go from users of AI to builders in AI. And it actually, it's truly democratized. I mean, you can go to a Lovable and create a website of your own. You can go to a Replit and do prompt engineering and create a entire software system. And I'm so thrilled when I hear of the many cases, like Manjula was telling me about how she registered for an AI course in some university, right? So just jump in and learn. The superpower that you get by learning, and you might even not use that on a day-to-day basis, but even to have that knowledge so that you can tell your teams, ask your teams the right questions, just that alone is golden information. But in doing that, again, you are giving yourself superpowers, so don't miss that opportunity to really fly with AI.
So we should all actively build for AI.
Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and just take a one step in whatever segment that you are in. Just take that one step. Learn. Spend 5 minutes a day. It can be overwhelming. I'll be the first person to say it can be overwhelming. But just take one step at a time. Say, I'm going to spend 10 minutes learning. I'm just going to read up something about my industry. And that will already put you in the 1% of where things are. We are still very early, and we need this room to lead. And it's just tremendous to see even the number of activities between one Fiki Flow speaker and the other. It's tremendous to see this community and the amount of investment and the opportunities that you have. So go out and make the most of it.
Wonderful. And one last question in this format before I ask you a set of rapid fire questions.
All right.
But before that, you've been a role model for women in tech, for a long time now. And over your career, how have you seen this change? How has the landscape of women in technology changed? Has it, it feels wrong to say has it changed, but it must have done, no?
Yeah. No, so listen, I remember when, I think all of us have been in rooms where we are the single-digit percentage of women in the room, right? It is great to see more women on main stage. So when Falguni went and rang took her company public, when Upasana from MobiQuick did the same, these are all people shattering barriers in the technology world, and there are similar shattering of barriers across the board. I met Kirthiga Reddy, who's the youngest advocate or some specialist. And I just met Dhana was telling me about it. So it's just people who are shattering barriers across the globe. So it is happening. To me, it's happening too slowly. And so it's just frustrating that the numbers are still single-digit percentage, single-digit percentage of funding going to female founders. If I look at deep tech founders building in AI, 4% are. I look at those. That was a big part of me jumping back. It was one of those, if not now, when? If not me, who? And jumped back into building. So things have changed. It's far too slow. And we all need to make bigger strides, and it all starts with each one of us.
Superb. So now we head into the rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. So
and I haven't seen these questions, so yes, let's do it.
You haven't?
I have not.
Okay,
so.
good. All right. So what's the one app you can't do without?
All right. For those who know me, I'm big into photographs. My photo app is something that I just cannot do without. So, yeah. And we'll take... I just use just my photo, by camera. And of course, I use the layout and I use the boomerangs and, and I use my editing tools. By the way, now just the iPhone, it gives you great AI tools and this is incredible. I actually, one of the things that I measure life by is the number of people who actually use the photographs that I've taken and use that as their profile picture in Facebook or WhatsApp. So I just love it when I see that. So that's one of the things that I measure life by.
Very, very diplomatic photos app on her phone. Right. I think this is it's a repetitive question in a sense, but we'd love to know a woman leader who has inspired you, because the answer is very different from person to person, and we'd love to know why. A woman leader who's inspired you.
So many. I spoke about Cheryl, I spoke about my mom. I'd actually maybe give you the answer that my daughter gave when she was 9 years old. This is Ashna again. She was asked to write an essay tell me about someone who inspires you. This next gen, I think they really have their act together and they really get life. She wrote, her answer was, inspiration needs to come from within, okay? All right, so everyone, each of us, our inspiration, it truly starts with ourselves. So, love yourself, believe in yourself, and seek inspiration from yourself.
Fantastic. AI in one word?
Possibility.
Possibilities, okay. If you could be any fictional character, who would you be? This is not on the list, I made it up, sorry.
Okay, I think the first thing that comes to mind is Elastigirl from Incredible, yeah? She's this mom and she has to stretch herself in so many different ways. That's what we do as women, right? It's just incredible, and so Elastigirl.
Elastigirl, oh, that's fun, that's really fun, yeah. And my last question is, what's a mantra that never fails you, no matter what?
When businesses succeed, livelihoods flourish. And that's what I spend all my time thinking about. When businesses succeed, livelihoods flourish.
So I've had a fantastic time doing this, but you should anyway be doing this.
Awesome.
I'll step down. Why don't you come back up here? You're rightful place.
All right, isn't that a beautiful sari? Is that also from like this beautiful diya?
you.
Is it, where is this from?
This is from Raw Mango.
From raw mango, okay.
So I thought I'll just add some more questions. You
Okay.
were a challenge. I mean, I really enjoyed the whole, the session was excellent. There were so many takeaways. I think we all really, really loved the session.
I'm going
Thank
to
you
ask, by the
so
way, the
much.
last question I'm going to be asking the audience because I want to know what you will remember as you walk out of the door. So that'll be the last question.
So tell me one thing that AI will never replace.
Oh my God, so many things, okay? One, it will never replace the warmth of a hug from, your mom, your daughter, your husband, your friend. It'll never replace that. So that's literally the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, it's just joy, emotion, laughter. There are so many things that AI will never, ever replace.
Yeah. And one life lesson you want every young woman to know, or every woman here should know. What is that?
Okay, I'm going to give you 3. Okay, one for each of it's only one for the stage of life that you're in. Okay, so how many here are single? Like, no, okay, few. Okay, all right. Remember that if you are looking for a life partner, and by the way, you don't need a life partner. If you don't want a life partner, no problem. You can just be fabulous by yourself. Okay, but if you are looking for a life partner, remember that the most important career decision you make will be the partner that you choose, okay? It will not be the industry, the career, absolutely, the partner, right? Like a lot of people, Sunita, Manjula, Namrata, they know Dev, my husband. I would just simply not be here on this stage if not for his support and his just belief in me. He has believed in me more than I believe in myself, and again, I would not be here without him. So that's my first thing. Okay, 2, if you are in that stage of career or life where you're thinking about, do you want to have children, not have children? Again, I will say, if you don't want to have children, do not have children. But if you want to have children, then, I remember that I postponed having kids for the longest time, and then we were ready. Then again, we postponed it and I said, no, I have to go for a conference. I can't be pregnant. I want to go for this wedding. I can't be pregnant, right? And later, when we both were ready, we realized that, it just doesn't happen. Just because you are ready doesn't mean that you just magically, become pregnant and have a baby. So both my girls were IVF girls, which is an infertility treatment, and I'm so grateful for science, for the gift of motherhood. And by the way, I was pregnant a year into business school, and my daughter was born 1 year into business school. I partied more after she was born than before because anyway she would be up, so I used to just like, okay, fine, she's up anyways, I would go for parties. But my lesson there is that if you're in that stage, there never will be a perfect time to have kids. Okay, so if you really want to have kids, just go have kids, and nature conspires to make sure that things support you to make that happen. So that's my second lesson. My last lesson is, once you have kids, nothing will stress your multitasking ability, touch upon guilt management, time management, all of that, then that phase. Okay, so know that guilt management is just as important as time management. Know that when I ask my kids now, so tell me really, and I really won't be offended, like when I was away all these times, did you feel really like badly that I wasn't there? And they said, Mom, whenever you went to the United States, you came back with so much candy. We were the most popular kids in town, so we really did not miss you going away. So don't sit and agonize about all the guilt. I mean, just have conversation with the kids. But the superpower that I want to leave you with is the superpower of the and, okay? Very often, things are presented as choices. When I had my second child, I was the director of product management. I had to travel. And I said, oh my God, I really want to nurse my second one just as I did for the first one. Again, a personal choice. And, again, everyone can do things differently. But I said, is this the moment people talk about where I have to make a choice between my professional goals and my personal goal? And it struck to me one time as I was agonizing that, I don't have to. So for the first year, I actually traveled with her. And everywhere I went, something happened to magically make sure that she was taken care of and I was taken care of. And I used to nurse her between meetings and the like. So, by the way, the message here is not that everyone makes the choices that I do, but I do want to say that there's a power of the and. Not everything is an and, but more often than not, when it feels like an or, just knock on it, be innovative, think outside the box, seek your community, and more often than not, you'll find it an and. So I want to gift you this superpower of the and as the message.
Thank you so much. That was so, so good. And a principle you've never compromised ever throughout your work, your journey.
It's very important to me that I go to sleep at bed at peace, okay? And so a principle I've never compromised on is if there's, just do the right thing. I do not want to lose sleep over anything, okay? So just do the right thing, whatever it is, however hard it is. And that's a principle that I tell my team too. When they tell me, this customer did this, that customer did this, I said, don't ask me, just think about what is the right thing to do, and whatever the right thing to do is, you do it and I'll back you in doing that. So do the right thing.
Yeah, so I think we should not have midnight messages from now on.
What was that?
We better finish
totally.
our work before that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kirthiga. It was really lovely having you. I think we'll open the floor for questions.
It was such a wonderful session. Thank you, Mrinalini, for the moderation. And thank you, Ms. Kirthiga. We were just, looking at you spellbound, laughing, crying sometimes, and just listening enraptured. It was a beautiful session. I would like to open the floor to some questions from the audience. I have one too, but I'll go last.
Okay. Thank you, Kirthiga. I think,
Yes.
Thank you for the global perspective. So one question I have is, AI is now booming, right? Everybody's talking about it. So what is the one skill or mindset you think that children should have now on for them to be ready for the future?
The love of learning. Truly, that is going to be your superpower. So embrace learning. And again, it can be hard. But everything is hard. And so you have to choose your heart. I'd say even in life, like being single is hard, being married is hard. Choose your heart. Keeping up with technology is hard, but falling behind is even harder. Choose your heart and choose to keep up. And so jump in, embrace the love of learning. That's what is going to keep us relevant and ahead.
I think so true. So Kirti, that was a fantastic session, I must tell you. Congratulations. My question is, I think that the biggest problem facing the world today is inequality. And it's just growing by leaps and bounds across the globe. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think technology is only adding to it. So going forward, what can organizations, how can organizations kind of, do something to make innovation more human-centric and not, just profit-driven? So is that going to happen?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I know you said technology is increasing inequality. I actually have a bit of a contrary view in that I see several examples where technology is actually bridging the equality divide, whether it's in education, whether it's in health, in telemedicines, the ability to have someone in rural India have access to the best of technology, or even the opportunities that are made available through AI. Kiran, I spoke about the AI contributor. I'll send you some videos that I'd love for you to share. These are people who are from tier 2, tier 3, who are talking about how their livelihoods have changed because of the things that they do in data labeling. So I'm a huge believer in technology for good and technology in solving inequality. That said, there is a digital divide. There is people who have technology and not technology. And we saw this in spades even in COVID, right? People I mean, you know, I was on the advisory board for Teach for India. There were people who did not have devices. How are we going to get them education? And, you know, that time frame was a huge setback. People who did not get education there, they might never catch up back to that formal education in years. So it was a huge setback because of not having access to digital divide, right? I do think companies need to do more. I do think individuals need to do more. I see the government taking a lot of steps there, but I also think that there's a lot that each one of us really needs to do to make that a priority and have that be a core principle in what we do. So you're absolutely right that there is that digital divide, and now that AI divide and the have or have-nots. It starts with each individual, and we all need to do more, Sunita.
Hi, Kirthiga. It was exhilarating to listen to you all this time. I just have one question. Why are only 5% of the startups are successful? Can you just throw light on this, especially the women startups?
Yeah. So on one hand, it's actually a great question. It's just, you know, sometimes you just take it as a given, right? Is that 1 in every 10? It's actually 1 in every 10. Or let's call it 1 in every 20. Yeah, is successful. So why is it? So I think part of it is just founder mindset education. Right? Are we picking the right markets? Right? Are we pivoting quick enough? I'll tell you, even with my startup, right? We started saying that we are a blockchain-enabled platform for creators because we were going to bet on, for the first time, you had the opportunity to have authenticated digital assets, and we were seeing the problem where creators and influencers were not getting enough money from the platforms that they contribute to. So we very quickly saw that actually the bigger pull was then coming to us from enterprises, not from the creator side. So we then moved quickly. So one, it's the founder ability to, are we picking the right market? And initially you don't even know, right? It's a hypothesis. Then you have to go test the market. Are you moving quickly enough? Do you have the right mentors, the right guides, the right agility? Do you have the right funding? So there are so many things that need to line up for an entrepreneur to succeed that leads to that stat. And I do think communities like this are what can help increase that. And we have to start that right from the ideation stage, right? Are we picking the right ideas? Are we honing the ideas? Are we testing very quickly? You know, fail fast. Are we iterating very quickly so that you increase your chances of success?
But Kirthiga, I think, don't you think we have, it's me.
Yes.
Don't you think there's a decision that you have to take every day as a, you know, when you're starting your business? There is some decision, I mean, there's no right or wrong, I feel. At times you just have to go with the flow and take a decision. Then how do you say, okay, this is the right way to take a decision, or this is correct, or this is wrong? Then how?
You know, and the thing is, you never know. You never know, right? You never know. And I'll tell you, like Silicon Graphics that I mentioned that I started, that I joined right after my master's in engineering. At that time, it was a $2 billion, very profitable company, okay? Maybe after like 10, 20 years, much after I left, the company actually went bankrupt, okay? I remember my days at Silicon Graphics very proudly because we were at the heart of what seemed like everything major going on in the world. Our computers were used for the Human Genome Project, the landing on Mars, the making of Jurassic Park. But the company, along its way, I remember the first all hands that I went to, the CFO came on stage and he said, "Oh my God, we have so much money, we don't know what to do with it. Everybody in the company got a tag watch. I was too soon, like my tenure was too soon, so I didn't qualify for that tag watch. That still hurts me 20 years later." But the lesson there is, by the way, anytime you have a CFO on stage who says we have so much money that we don't know what to do with it, take that as a red flag. because the company got just too complacent. And they just did not see the competition coming from the Wintel systems, and 20 years later they were bankrupt, right? So this is not just in the early stage startup that they can fail. You can be a very big, several billion-dollar, highly profitable company, and you still have to continue to innovate to stay relevant. Maybe a fun fact, if you go to the Facebook office, okay, Silicon Graphics went bankrupt. They used to compete with Sun Microsystems. And Sun Microsystem campus, Silicon Graphics campus is now the Google campus, okay? They used to compete with Sun Microsystem. The Sun Microsystem campus is now the Facebook campus, okay? So it shows how fortunes can change. And if you go to the Facebook office, you will see, one hack away. Behind it is the original Sun Microsystem banner, because Mark has that as a reminder for everyone in the company that if we don't stay sharp in seeing where the consumer is going, where technology is changing, Facebook could also be behind the logo of the next, rising company. So it is a lesson that all of us have to keep in mind.
It's the obsession that will hold you on
Yeah.
to just, go on and on to make sure you work hard all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. That is what will keep you going on, I feel. Yeah.
Hi, Kirthiga.
Yes.
Thank you for such an insightful session. So my question is regarding, so basically, like you said, today AI is going into every field and there's a utilization there. And we see this like even advertising and things like that. You're able to make ads with so much ease and a lot of things. But there's also that negative side where people are using it to create fake videos. You have Nirmala Sitharaman promoting some app and all those things. So as of now, where we are just starting, the general public is not so aware of these things. Where does the ethical principles that AI is built on and how that is being implemented, how are we supposed to be a little more careful about these things, and how do we understand what is fake and what is actually, good?
It's a great question. And I think it's similar to the digital divide question, is honestly, we just have to be really scared about that. It is so difficult to tell when something is real or not. I mean, imagine a message from a nation state, president, prime minister that gets changed, and the problems that can cause in society. There's a lot of work happening in industry bodies where, there is ways to, the equivalent of a copyright that tells you has something been tampered with, is something AI or not. But I, again, strongly believe in then technology as a way to counter that. And so there's a bunch of innovation. There are a bunch of startups that are working on the space. And from my perspective, they need to just be innovating like so much more faster, because the problem statements just continue to grow. And I think all of us need to be mindful about what we use, ask the right questions. There's also innovation in, we spoke about blockchain. For creators are using this to actually then say, this is a legitimate way of using it. If you want to use my image, if you want to use my name and likeness, you can pay whatever, $10, $100 for this, for that. So can we find those legitimate ways of using it? These kind of problems always existed, right? As counterfeit luxury goods, etc. It just magnifies in the digital space, and all of the same patterns, I think, apply all over again.
Hi, Kirthiga. Hello. Here.
Yes.
Yeah. Just wanted to understand, how do you see AI reshaping in investment banking from deal sourcing to deal diligence? And what sort of skills will leader need to stay relevant in this new era?
There's a lot of innovation happening. There are even, there are companies that are talking about, I believe there always has to be a human in the loop, but there are companies that are talking about no humans in the loop, where, you just submit your proposals and, there's a AI diligence process all the way to the investment, to the monitoring. But there is how is it that you're picking up the signals? How is it that you're matching it to your investment thesis? How is it that you're making the investment decisions. There's a lot of innovation happening in every step of the way in the AI world. And I would say that probably started 5-7 years ago, even before this huge wave, and they're maturing at this stage.
And join our next session for that. Ms. Rachna is going to talk more about this.
Awesome. Yes.
Hello, Kirthiga. This is, okay, can I ask? Can I ask? Okay.
Yes.
This is Shalu Saraf. I just have a question. You talked about seed funding. So you're betting heavily on the founder's superpowers. So how much weightage do you give to the idea? And also if the idea is disruptive or the founder's superpower to execute an existing idea. So how do you take the whole, what is the process?
So I'll give you an example. Like, I'm the founding LP of F7, which is about bold women investing in bold founders, and the founders could be male or female. One of the first investment that we made was in a company. We actually invested in the founder, where she came from Berkeley. She had done a lot of work on like housing, and so she had the idea of just like there's Airbnbs that rents out spaces. When people leave the house, there's space. They go to the office 9 to 5, and there's space that's left. Okay, can they rent out their homes? It could be a conference room and office space in their homes. And she had, because of her work in Berkeley, had gotten permission from Berkeley and from San Francisco to be able to pilot this because it requires permission and the like. And the cost of housing is insane in those regions. So they had homeowners say that they were able to cover even half of their rental costs because of that. So there was a big ecosystem that was coming together. So we invested in her because of that. She had a background in that space. She had that initial idea which felt big. By the way, since then, she's pivoted 3 times. It's not even because COVID happened, and then people were inside the house, people were not going outside. So that complete business went for a toss. So things change in ways. So you have to be able to bet on someone then who, no one would have predicted COVID. We would have never known that her business model would go obsolete, right? But she was able to pivot and go to the next idea. She raised a Series A from Andreessen Horowitz, right? So that's to give you a very concrete example on that. And maybe on the investment banking, just to come back to that question that you had on the investment banking side, the investment banking question, right? The other way that people are doing it is they're using AI to codify their intelligence. So, so Sarah Smith Fund, by the way, please name things more after women. Right? We have enough buildings, funds, all of that named after men. Please name more things after women, right? No, seriously. And so Sarah Smith she has her fund called Sarah Smith Fund. And she actually strongly encouraged me to do that. So my endowment at Syracuse for students is called Kirthiga Reddy Endowment. And I would have never done that if she hadn't. She said, she pushed me to do that. So I'm turning that on. So she uses AI to codify her intelligence. So she has a specific way of investing, of seeing companies and how she wants to do it. So she codifies that and going back to accelerate her potential, to be able to apply her methodology where in the human way she might be able to assess 15 companies. How is it that she codifies that then she can assess 100, almost an unlimited number of companies, right? To be able to get to the best one. So that's just another very concrete example of how AI is being used in the investment side.
Hi,
right.
Kirthiga, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this incredible session.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you how you maintain yourself. You look incredibly fit. I just wanted to know the secret.
Everest Base Camp.
Everest
Base Camp twice.
And maybe a 3rd time. I'm already dreaming
Do you
about
work
it.
out? Do you work out or
Yeah, so I do work out. So, so running is my thing. And we should also start, I think, thinking of passing the mic to the back rows as well, because I see a bunch of hands there. So I do work out. Running is my thing. And by the way, I never used to, until I was probably 40, I never used to run. I couldn't run 3 miles. And the base camp first time happened when I turned 40. It was a milestone birthday. I needed to do something intense. I couldn't run, I couldn't hike, I couldn't swim. And so of course I had to decide that I'm going to do the Mount Everest base camp, right? But it truly is about then putting one step at a time and 6 months of training. And I went actually from Hyderabad. And power of community, I had people in Aparna Orchids who have gone to the base camp before. So I saw that they could do it. I said, if they can do it, I probably can too. And by the way, my trainer, when I came back, someone said, oh, you were able to do it. Or if you were able to do it, it was probably super easy. Okay, I'm like, oh, you're a trader. But this is right here in Aparna Orchids. So that's when I picked up running. And I knew I couldn't do the base camp like every time. I've realized that for myself, I need a big goal. If I have a big goal, I'll train for it. Otherwise, it's too easy to just sleep in over the weekends. So I've always would have registered for a half marathon. And so for the last 10 years, I've done multiple half marathons. Last year, I did 4 half marathons. This year, actually, I was hampered by the fact that, I had a knee issue. So my running has been, so I've been looking for other ways, but I still like figure it out. I will do a half before I finish the end of the year. So yes, so figure out your way of doing it.
Hi, thank you for such an inspiring talk. I have a question. I mean, AI is so powerful. So when we navigate through AI, do you have any tips in terms of a specific way of maybe asking the question to get into a certain direction? One. So are there any special tips? That's one. And also, once you codify, like you said, the lady did for her financial services, what happens to the mind, I wonder? Won't we atrophy, like after a point when you codify it so much, then you become complacent. Don't you? How would you,
Yeah.
Where would the mind go then?
Yeah.
Start only going within and introspecting or what? I just wonder about that.
No, so let me take the second question first. So, I'll go back to history, right? When the calculator came, we all said, oh, are we going to forget like how we do our math, right? Or when Grammarly came about and, it helped us with our spelling, we all going to forget our spelling. Of course, AI takes it to a different level. And truly, it's about how people use it, right? You can use it to really amplify and get ahead, or you truly can choose to let yourself atrophy. And I've seen members in my team who have just copy-paste things without reading it, and it drives me crazy. And that's an example of where people just are letting themselves atrophy. And I'll tell you, the people who use it to let themselves atrophy, one, are not making the most of AI and will not be the ones who get ahead. It is the people who, use AI to truly grow their potential that are going to be, people talk about, hey, is AI going to replace jobs? It's not going to be AI replacing jobs, but people who use AI, not to atrophy, but to get ahead, who are going to be replacing people who are not using AI or who are using AI in a lazy way and in an atrophy way. So I do think it's going to come down to each one of us and how we are using it as a way for us to amplify and to grow. Because there are some times, like I get all my titles, my scripts, etc., and ideation from ChatGPT because it just lets me brainstorm. It gives me the advantage of talking to like someone who's an incredible speech writer, and it's a brainstorm. But I continue to iterate on it until I get something that I resonate with, that speaks to me, versus something that I just take, and it helps me think about things in ways that I might not have been able to do without like a coach guiding me. So that's one way that I use it. On your first question, was it specific to how does one get started, or is there a way to do the right prompts to get the right answer? Yeah. So tomorrow actually we are hosting someone who is one of the 5 OpenAI education partners. They're in Mumbai. It might be too soon for you to hop on a plane to come to Mumbai, but there are sessions about how is it that you can do the right prompting, where it is about having the right context. This is who I am. This is my business. Make sure that you give me your answer that is contextual to me, right? So giving it the right context, asking it the right question about, okay, if this is my context, this is what I want. Also helping guide it on what kind of answers you want. So for example, if you say, give me bold, unconventional ideas on how I can grow my business, it will give you a very different set of ideas from just how do I grow my business, okay? So there is a methodology in terms of how do you get more of ChatGPT, and I'm just giving you like the quick, 30-second version, but keep leaning in and ask these questions. It's exactly what we need people to be asking so that they can continue on their AI journey. So kudos to you for that question. Yeah. All right, we're going to go to the very back so that we get some questions from the back. And how much time do we have?
We just have 5 more minutes, so I
Okay.
think we'll take one more question. And
Yeah.
can I ask a question?
Hi.
Maybe why don't we ask, we'll pass the mic around, get 2 or 3 questions, and I can see whether there are common themes, and I'll take them together.
Okay, so my question is little big one. So
Okay.
sorry, I'm very much happy to see you first of all. So I'll share my journey before explaining my question. So I'm 30 years old now. I have started this AI journey like 26 years old, like back 4 years. When you're saying all these points, I was reminding all those terminology, vocabulary, everything which I researched on it. So I had a comfortable and well-paying job in Hyundai and Kia R&D as a research engineer. But I don't know, something inside me did not allow me to work there. I thought I'm more than this, I can do so much than this. So I had resigned to that job and started learning data science, Python and everything. So when I was learning, I couldn't, I thought I will apply this knowledge in the mechanical stream, automotive stream. But somehow I have landed in an IT job, which is as a developer. Initially I did not like it, but I'm into regulation and certification department earlier in Hyundai. So I have exposure to many things like.
I think we should take the
So-
question.
You're gonna
After
be-
the session, it's like,
Yeah.
because I think we have to.
Okay.
Actually, Kirthiga is here with us for some more time. I think you people can have some personal.
Okay, I'll discuss in person. Yeah, personally, yeah.
But is there a question? Sorry. Yeah, I mean, one, great that, you've been in the journey for 3 years, understand
Yeah.
that you've found a bigger potential. Was there a question?
No. So I found quantum computing is something struck me.
Okay.
But I couldn't match it to my profession. Like I wanted to connect the dots between the automotive sector and the quantum computing. So there I have struck. So I think.
Okay. All right. So I'll get to that next.
Yes.
Like, let's take 2 or 3 questions.
Hi, Kirthiga. I'm Akshita and I also work in automation as a business analyst. I wanted to know what made you join the whole, how did you see the potential in AI? Like, what was your first thing that you have multiple ventures in AI right now? So what made you hop on to this AI bandwagon?
Okay.
And you have these multiple, not just one, but you've also launched Kiran AI and these all Verix, Optimized Geo, all are AI based. So how do you manage your time as a resource, as a CEO of multiple organizations? Did it help that they all had AI related? Or how would you have handled if all of these are different industries?
Superb. Okay. All right. We'll take 2 more questions and then I'll.
Hi, Kirthiga.
Yes.
I wanted to know why you left Meta and wanted to start something of your own.
Okay. Awesome. Last question.
Hi, I'm here. I just want to know what advice you would give for kids who are, in grade 5, 6. So these are kids who are going to come into the workforce about 10, 12 years from now. What should they really be studying?
Such a great
And
question.
also, would an MBA really be relevant 10 years from now?
Say that again.
Would a course like MBA be relevant about 10, 12 years from now?
Will AI be relevant 10 years later? Okay,
Not
great.
AI, MBA.
MBA.
MBA. Okay, understood. MBA. Okay. All right.
Hi ma'am, I'm Shrita. So it's a very simple question. As you're such a great leader, is there any time you thought you had like this one specific superpower to solve all your problems as you deal with many different people and that drive you crazy maybe sometimes or teach you many different things? Is there one superpower you wish you had?
Okay,
Thanks.
awesome. Yeah. All right. So let me, okay,
One
yes.
last question.
Yes.
So basically, I'm not a tech-savvy person, and if I really want to learn about AI, which platform would you suggest? Second is, everything is provided as a platter to the kids. You have any doubt? Here is Meta. Here is Chat GPT. How can we keep the originality in us, which will help us later? Like if I have to wish someone in a different way, I'll use ChatGPT or Meta. I don't use my brain anymore. So, it's not just me. I think it's with every person that everything is provided in a platter to you. You have any question, here it is for you through the AI.
Okay.
So how can we keep the originality in us?
All right. Okay. So there were a bunch of questions. I'm going to take a few of them. And then, as she said, I'm going to be around and I can ask questions. And as I said, I do have a final question for you on what you will take away. So a superpower that I wish I had. A superpower I wish I had is the art of communicating, like in a way that lands as intended, okay? I just find communication to be such a skill and something that one can never perfect, even in terms like in a performance review, right? I might be telling someone that they really need to get their act together, they'll walk away thinking, oh my God, she gave me such a good performance review, or the other way around. I've actually told them just, hey, this is something you might want to consider, and the person walks away thinking, oh my God, I'm doing a terrible job, right? So or someone who says something, I remember business school, I used to walk by and there were two people sitting behind me and he never would smile and say, hey, maybe he doesn't like me. And then one day I heard them saying that, their child was sick and they were really concerned about it. So it was not that they didn't like me, it was because their child was sick. So communication and the act of there's too many misunderstandings in this world because of the lack of accurate communication. So that's a superpower that I wish everyone would have, and certainly that I would have, yeah? So that's one. Will an MBA be relevant? I really think it's about how people learn. The question about is MBA relevant is an age-old question. It used to be there, it's been 20 years. At that time, there was a question. The question is there now, it'll remain. It really depends on how people learn. And I always say that if someone comes to me and says, I'm thinking of doing an MBA, should I do it or not? I always tell them, listen, you can do whatever you want with or without an MBA, but the fact that you spend that much time to come and ask me means that you're leaning into it. This might be a way that you learn. Different people learn differently, in which case, go in and jump in. I found my MBA to be a transformative experience. And again, going back to Dev, as I was agonizing, should I stay in my career? I was doing really well, or should I go to my MBA? He said, Kirthiga, you're thinking about it so much. It's better to look back and regret doing something that you really want to, versus look back and regret not having done something that you want to, right? So, don't look back with regrets, go jump in and do things, and, we'll all live to be 80, 90, 100 and beyond. There's plenty of time to experiment. So I know you have a question.
Yeah,
you have a question.
I have been
okay.
waiting.
All right.
I typed my question to ChatGPT and I said, refine this for me for Kirthiga Reddy.
Okay, yes.
So as a business owner, I see huge potential in using AI across hiring, marketing, and financial analysis in all sorts of departments. However, I'm having some concerns because, one, how safe is it to share sensitive data to AI? Second, how do I prepare my employees to work effectively with them? Because we're all a traditional, family-managed business, and the people there don't know. I might be learning or doing courses. And third, can AI genuinely deliver better outcomes than the traditional methods, or is it more of an efficiency tool?
No, all great questions. So you have to be careful about not giving sensitive data to your public-facing ChatGPT and the like. There are ways that you can make sure that the information stays within there is actually pretty clear in that it can be a huge productivity multiplier. And if you are not using it, it's similar to the internet, right? If you're not using the internet for your work, you're going to be behind. So you have the risk of falling behind someone else in your same profession who is using it to be. See, market share is won and lost at times of disruption, and I really hope that all of us in the Wikiflow community are on the winning side of this disruption, and it's truly tremendous to see the amount of programming that you do to help this community be on the winning side.
Thank you so much. It's for the organization.
Thank you. I now invite Senior Vice Chairperson Sita Reddy to deliver the vote of thanks.
Should I ask for like quick takeaways before this, or is that the final word? I just want like quick takeaways. What will people remember as they walk out? Do I ask now? Okay. All right. What will you remember? I want a few things. Okay, Manjula, yes. Our best is yet to come. Amazing. I fully agree. You want to join tomorrow? Okay, all right, yes. Okay.
You can check with AI.
Yeah.
He'll give you a lot of options.
Yeah, we'll bring it to you. Yes. Okay. Start building, not just using. Awesome. Believe in and, not in or. What's that? Don't compromise on your sleep. What's that? No guilt. Yes. Okay. Take charge of your health. You are your inspiration. Woohoo. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Very nice, very nice. So many takeaways.
Okay. Back to you.
So, Kirthiga, before I start my vote of thanks, I too have a question. That's the only final one to you. So, years back when we got, first computer was introduced, and everybody was at the crossroads, and everybody felt now this technology is going to take away a lot of jobs, and people are going to lose jobs. And see, after that, there was a sea change, and instead of losing jobs, so many were created, lakhs and lakhs. But now, with the AI, what do you see?
I see the same thing. There will be jobs that are lost, but there will be jobs that are created. And, again, it's people in this room that will create the new jobs. I mean, there are people who are just prompt engineers. You go to, like Etsy, there's someone who's selling a prompt pack for some gaming. I mean, like, who would have ever thought that something like that could come together? So, think about the whole influencer community, right? Who would have thought? There are 300 million influencers. I am a huge believer in the ingenuity, in the creativity of the human race, and about what they will do with this world of AI.
Yeah, hope so.
Yeah, and
but one thing we have to agree with the AI now, a 10-year-old to a 70, 80-year-old are going to become the students now. Everybody wants to learn.
Absolutely. Yes.
So,
thank. And today's session, Kirthiga, before I close, we've opened it for students. You can see a lot of kids. Yeah, because we felt that's the future, and we should connect you to the future of, of our generation that's coming up.
No, thank
you.
you.
A lot of students are there here today.
Listen, the next generation, you give us hope. There's many things that we did to mess up this world. And again, I'm very hopeful as I look at each one of you on how purpose-driven you are, how you're focused on the right things. So thank you for giving us hope and for all that you will do to make this world a better place.
Yeah, I'm so glad all the youngsters are here today. So many teenagers. Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. On behalf of Wikiflow Hyderabad, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to Kirthiga Reddy for joining us today. Ms. Kirthiga, thank you for sharing us your invaluable insights on growth, leadership, and scaling with purpose. Your clarity and perspective has given us so much to reflect on and to apply in our own growth. we truly appreciate the time and thought you have invested in being with us today. We extend our gratitude to our sponsors for the generous support, Premium Platinum sponsors Swastik Spices, Initiative sponsors Vision Tech and Vasundhara Buildex. Special thanks to our past chairpersons and each and everyone who are here today. Your presence and participation is what makes our events truly meaningful. We also thank our events team, Business League team, and also a special thanks to our floral friends. Thank you to the District 150 by Quorum for the wonderful venue and the warm hospitality. Now, as we conclude, let us carry forward the insights gained and continue unlocking our own growth codes with intention and purpose. Everyone, please join us for high tea. Thank you.